Do you prefer homogeneous or heterogeneous grouping in your classrooms?
Heterogeneous.
Why?
Because I think their strengths and weaknesses, and in grouping them that way, they can learn from each other.
How can you tell students are learning? Which evaluation techniques do you use?
I do most of my assessment in class as classwork. So basically, I let them do collaborative learning. And as I go by, I give them like little tests, if you will, by asking them questions and just finding out if they're understanding what's going on. And that's how I do it mostly. I rarely give a test.
In which curriculum area are you particularly strong in?
Writing.
So these questions are about your instructional techniques. Give an example of how you use cooperative learning in your classroom. Like an example of how you did grouping or a style that wasn't so individual.
Basically, take for instance my dual enrollment class. What happens is I give a general introduction to the unit. Then from there, they basically have to sit together and they go at it. They do a discovery of it, and I answer questions as they go along. But basically, I facilitate. I'm not so much an instructor.
What do you consider to be your strengths, and how will you use them in your teaching, or how do you use them since you already are a teacher?
My strength as a teacher is that I'm very student oriented, meaning that I constantly put myself in the position of my students. When I write an assignment, I think if I had to do that assignment, if I had to write it, if I had to actually bring it back, could I? And so I'm also constantly asking students what they think. Was it too hard? Just getting an idea of their part of it, because I might visualize in my mind one way, but it's actually gone through another way.
So these questions are about classroom management. How do you set standards for acceptable performance in your classroom at the beginning of the year?
Behavior or academic?
Behavior. I think behavior and more like, when it comes to academic, more like turning in stuff late and stuff like that. Not so much like getting the A and the B. More like you're responsible, like.
Okay, behavior, like I just have always had a rapport with students. So I think that rapport, the classroom environment that I create, I think that automatically sets a tone. I think I'm approachable, and I think kids feel comfortable with me as I do with them. And with what's acceptable, at the same time where that rapport is there, I think they understand that if it's not an A, I'm not going to give them the A. They're going to earn the A. And I think that there's more value to that, because when they do get the A, it really feels like something they earned, not something that was just given. And they understand why also.
How do you help students develop self-discipline? Can you teach this skill?
Self-discipline? Yeah, I help them by telling them what to do. When I see a student so sometimes students do not study more, do not do more, because they've never had anyone hold them accountable for it. So basically, I tell them, I ask them, I go, have you been doing this? What are you doing? And then I find out what they're not doing, and I explain to them what they should be doing, and most importantly, why. Because a lot of times people tell students what to do, but never explain why.
Okay, so in your opinion, who should be responsible for discipline in the school? Like, who should it be? Teachers? Should students know what they should do? Parents? The faculty? Administrators?
I think it's a layering effect, but I think students know what's right and what's wrong. No one has to tell them. I think they know it. I think the teacher needs to call them on them. The teacher also has to be fair about how you do it, not shaming anybody, just basically taking them outside, maybe having a conversation. I think that works. If that doesn't work, then you do get the parents involved. And
like,
then,
for example, in the cursing thing that we were writing about, like how do you think, who gets involved, the teacher, or do you send the parent an email, or how would you do that?
The teacher first communicates with the student. That's number one, because it's kind of different. It's like if someone weren't happy with me as a teacher and they go right to the region.
Yeah.
That's not fair. Give me an opportunity to correct myself. And usually what I find, if you talk to students and you explain, listen, this is not correct, they respond. And then the ones that don't, because sometimes you do get ones that don't, then at that point, you still give them the opportunity to then walk away, because sometimes what's happening in front of you is not what's happening in front of you. It's what's happened as a result of someone hurting them, or they've had a bad day or something, or problems at home. So you have to kind of you got to know the whole student.
Okay. How do you involve parents in your classroom?
I have the webpage. If I need to communicate with them, I do. I have the remind, so the parents, if they want to, they can be involved with that. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have that much involvement with the parents, because at the level that I'm with, the 12th grade, they're pretty much, the parents have already assumed that the children can take care of themselves, and they've proved that they can.
Do you update parents on the progress of their children? Like if the child was failing, would you be like, "Oh, your child is failing my class"?
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, there's still, yeah. I send home unsatisfactory notices before the progress report, because to me, by the time it's a progress report,
It's
you're
too late.
already, too late.
In your opinion, how effective are parent conferences in solving student problems?
It depends on the relationship, honestly, between the parent and the child.
Why did you want to teach?
I wanted to teach because my mother and my father were both teachers. I love teaching. When I went to college, I actually went to college to become a doctor. And I went to med school. 2 weeks into med school, I realized that's not what I wanted. That's not how I wanted to view humanity. I love children. I love especially high schoolers because they're the brink of the rest of their life. And you get to see them before they become the doctors or the lawyers, whatever they're going to be. And I then love seeing them like years later when they become that.
Okay, so what is wrong with education today, and what do you think is right? Like, what are your views on education as it is today?
Okay, that's a two-part thing for me. Number one, I'm tired of hearing teachers complain. When you became a teacher, you did not think you were going to make the same salary that a doctor was going to make. So stop complaining about that. If it's such an issue, find another job.
You knew it coming in.
You knew it coming in. I'm here because I love to teach and I love what I do. If you don't love that and to that point where you are okay with driving this car and living in that house, but you come to work and you're happy, you have to be happy for children. So if that is an issue, then the teacher needs to go. So the problem with education, there's a lot of people in it who shouldn't be in it. You know, the second problem with education is a lot of people who stick their nose in it who have no idea about it. So basically, I don't go into a surgeon's operating room and tell them how to do it. I'm not a surgeon. So don't come in politics that you don't really know. And businessmen who are trying to sell programs that do nothing.
Yeah.
Like half of
Like
these
people who do our testing, they have never even been teachers.
99% of the computer programs are useless. They just occupy students' time, frustrate them. No.
And fail them.
You want a student to learn? Here's a crazy idea. Teach them. And reteach them. Ask them if as I always say, if 90% of your students fail, the students didn't fail. You failed. You failed to do something. And take the students and find out at the beginning of the year who they are and what's happening. And if you got to know your students that way and you get to know your student as a learner, there's no program that can outsmart you, and the kid will learn because kids want to learn. What's wrong is, again, people trying to put everybody into a computer. Technology is a great tool, but it's not a substitution for humanity.
What kinds of students do you like to work with? And what type of students do you feel you teach more effectively, you reach on a deeper level?
I like to teach all students, and I think regular students I have a little place in my heart for, because someplace somewhere the word regular became a dirty word in education. Regular doesn't mean that you're less. It just means that you just were not born with gifted. And truly,
you weren't pushed to it.
And what is gifted? In the real world, there's no gifted, there's no ESC, it's just the world. And I think that a lot of times they're given a lesser education because of their title. So I really like teaching regular kids. Like every year, I insist on having one regular class. And what I do with those kids, as a matter of fact, my seniors, my regular students do the same paper that my dual enrollment students do as their exit. And they do it, and sometimes better than the dual enrollment students.
Because once you hold them to higher standards, they perform.
Yes.
What procedures do you use to evaluate student progress besides using tests? Like, what other things do you do to see if they're actually learning what you're teaching?
The proof is in the pudding. It's what they're doing. It's what they're turning in. I don't need any.
Like your presentations and stuff like that.
Yeah, when they come in and when you have a regular kid who's never even annotated and annotating Canterbury Tale, what the hell do I need a test for? I know they got it. When you get a student who has been taught to write a 5-paragraph essay and writes a 5-page paper in an original voice, I don't need anyone to tell me that was successful. That was successful.
What 3 things do you most want to know about your students when they come into class? Like, when the school year starts, what are the 3 things that you think are most important to know about students?
I ask them one question. really. And the question is, what do I need to know about you as a person? Because a lot of teachers never learn their student as a person. I need to know what's going on. And I get that a lot through essays. And that's why I like the writing. Because students will tell you things about their home life and what they've been through. And when you look at a student who might be sleepy, but then you realize that the reason that they're sleepy is because of the hours that they're working, you have to treat them differently. Because God bless them, they're here. You know, when you have a kid who has a parent who has a drinking problem and they're telling you in an essay that they're picking up their parents off the ground, God bless them because they're here. You know, and sometimes the pressure is, what if their parents are pressuring them to be something they don't want to be? And they're still going at it. God bless them. So the most important question that I ask a student in my entire year is, what do you want me to know about you? Because then what I do is I become whatever they need me to be for them. And then we work through the course. So when they come to me and say, I couldn't do my homework last night, I look at them and I know why they couldn't do their homework. It's not that they're lazy, it's that they couldn't do their homework last night.